I was in construction and I remember being on this roof. We were freezing cold. And I'm like, man, I can do better than this. I can do better than this. And that's no disrespect, but I know there's something in me that is bigger than this. Football wasn't going to get to where I wanted it to go. And music was going quite well. And I was like, look, I've got to chase my dream. I've got to go for it. And you have to make a decision and take risks and dream big, because you'll only become who you dream.
Everyone wants the dream, but almost nobody wants the work behind it. Mark Knight built Beatport's top-selling label in that gap, and in this episode, he shows you exactly what lives there. This is Elevated Frequencies. Listen, you've had the same job for a very long time.
I have.
So I'm curious. I was like, how should I open this podcast? What's the coolest or weirdest non-music job you've ever had?
Well, I've had a lot of jobs before music. I was in construction. I was playing football when I was in construction. And I did a bunch of things. And I think when you're growing up, you don't need a plan straight away. You don't know. You don't know what you like, what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I think it's about trying a bunch of stuff that you think you might like, and then working it out. Too many kids, there's so much pressure on kids nowadays to study for something, to have a plan. How you don't know anything, you don't need to know anything unless you've got a very specific, I guess, sporting or academic thing you really, really want to chase. Then go and try some some stuff you like, some stuff you won't like, and then you work out what's going to work for you. But I think there comes a point in time where you have to make a decision and you have to make a plan. And I think around the age of 30 is really where you need to get a grip of where you want to be in life and what your pathway looks like. And I think the great thing about having done that, having lots of jobs before I did music, all pretty much in the same area in construction. And I remember one time being on this roof. We were freezing cold. And I'm like, man, I can do better than this. I can do better than this. And that's no disrespect, but I know there's something in me that is bigger than this. And football wasn't going to get to where I wanted it to go. And music was going quite well. And I was like, look, I've got to chase my dream. I've got to go for it. And you have to make a decision and take risks and dream big, because you'll only become who you dream. And what you dream, you'll become. Sorry, should I get that right? And I did that. And I think having had those jobs, it gave me the real value of money, because music can happen very quickly, and a career path in music can happen very, very quickly. You can go from nothing to massive in months now. In a digital world, exposure is straight. It can be very instant. And I think when you understand the value of money and what it looks and feels like to work really hard, and when you get an opportunity to do something you love and you earn lots of money, you should respect that. You should really respect that, and understand the difference, what it's like to not have that. So, yeah, I did a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it. I think it makes you the person you are. I think having done just one thing would make me a little bit too narrow. So, yeah, I think having had lots of different jobs in the early days really gave me the respect I needed to take the music industry seriously.
Sure. Construction's hard labor.
It's hard work. It's a lot of fun. I loved every minute of it. I mean, I was bricklaying. When I left school, I went to a construction college and I learned construction. And I loved it. I genuinely loved it. And I think if music finished, I'd probably go back to that.
Really?
I really see music as a very practical thing. I see it like construction in many ways. When you build a record, you're very much like the project manager of that record. Now, you need to know what you're building. Let's say the plans say you're going to build a house, right? You're not going to start building a house and end up with a block of flats, a block of apartments. You've got a plan to build a house, and then you bring into that project all the right people you need to reach your desired objective. So you bring in a plumber, you bring in an electrician, you bring in a carpenter. And it's the same thing when you make a record. If you need strings, you bring in a string arranger. If you need keys and you can't play, you bring in a keyboard player and you manage that project. You have the vision for its outcome. You're looking at the drawings. Then drawings are in your head. You have a vision for them. So I use that. It's very relatable. And I think the crossover, I've really used that to my advantage. I very much see music as a practical thing. Yes, there's a lot of creativity that goes around it, but you have to underpin that with a degree of structure, and planning and organisation. Otherwise, it goes on and on and on. You know, how it becomes a very blank piece of paper that goes on and on. So I think having had that background as well gives me a relatability to bring that into music. And I went up into being construction management, and it's about getting the best out of people, various people from various walks of life, to reach your objective. And again, I brought that into music, along with, being captain of football and all that. And, I have to always like to be captain or the leader, I always want to lead by example. It's always show, don't tell. It's very easy to tell someone, hard to show someone and lead by example. And I think when you get to management or captain, that responsibility, again, that the idea of leading is transferable into other things. And I've tried to draw on all the things in my background and then bringing them into music to make my career unique.
Yeah, I remember the last time we talked, you told me it's not talent that's gotten you to where it is. It is the project management. It's the hard work sort of thing. And it's interesting because I just posted something on Instagram a couple of days ago that I got a lot of heat, which doesn't bother me, but I got a lot of heat talking about an artist that I worked with who toured all weekend, showed up to our Monday morning meetings at 9 a.m. Like it was fine. Like she got a full night's rest, even though I know she didn't. And the result was the work we did together moved so much quicker because we never let the momentum die because she was on it. And so a lot of people said, oh, you're promoting unhealthy standards, whatever. But then it was interesting because a lot of big DJs that I respect were liking the post. So I was like, I should ask Mark, building the empire that you've built, when you were in the early days, how many days did you actually take off?
None. And still. Like, I tried to take 2 days off this week. Tried to take this week off because it's half term and to spend some time with my son. But when you own a business, there are no days off because it's on you. You've got lots of people looking to you for leadership, for guidance, and that never ends. It's like, I know you're off, but is what happens all the time. And that's, you have to accept that. If you own it, you've got to own it. You really have. You've got to own that responsibility. So I never took any days off at all. And even now, it doesn't matter where I am this weekend, Monday morning, 9 o'clock, let's go. Because always show, don't tell. If I can show the staff that I can be in the office on Monday morning, look, I don't care what you do the weekend. That's entirely up to you. Work hard, play hard. That's totally cool. We're in the nightlife industry, But turn up Monday, let's go. And that only happens. You have to set that precedent. You have to set that example. So again, it's about what we talked about earlier. Lead from the front. Give off all the right examples and set the right standards. And then that just becomes the standard. And everyone just expects that because if Mark can do it, then I'll do it. If he can be in Sao Paulo on Saturday night and in the office in London on Monday morning at 9, so can I.
Yeah, standards. That's the thing. And I think people set these arbitrary lines for themselves. It's like, well, when I get to this level, I'll do it. But it's so important to set those standards when you have no motion, because then you're going to hold them as you progress. Absolutely.
Yeah. You really have to balance the two facets of the music the music business. It is music and it is business. It is both. That's what's called the music business. It's not just called music, it's called both. And you have to understand that you have to mix creativity with practicality and hard work and ethics and standards. And if you do that, you get the most out of creativity. If it lives in this kind of ethereal world where nothing really matters, you're never really going to get the most out of it. And the key is to balance both.
And something that I've realized about myself the longer I work for myself is that my capacity grows. I feel like every 6 months, I kind of check in and I'm like, wow, I was able to fit that much into a day.
Love that.
And I think when people aren't doing that, they're not trying, they can't understand that it's possible.
Yeah.
You're like a gym rat, you DJ, you run a massive independent label. Talk to me about your capacity. Like how do you fit it all into a day?
By having lists upon lists, every day I have a list and I put a time next to it when I'm going to do that, or I know I'll do like the morning and the afternoon. And that's what gets me through a whole load of stuff. Like I am mega organized. That's what allows me to do 57,000 things a day. And I love that. I love coming away from that. I've been to the gym. I've spent time with my son. I've nailed loads of work. I've been creative. I've done all. I play paddle. I play golf. I've done it all. And I cannot sit still. It's a bit of, I have to do 57 things a day. I really do. I have to play golf and paddle, and I go to the gym every day, and I have to do loads of work, and I have to spend loads of quality time with my family. I have to make it all work. And that makes me feel complete. And I do that by being really organized and really structured. And then I get the best out of every minute, out of every day. And that makes me feel alive and feels like we're only here for a short amount of time. Why waste time? Why not eke the most out of every minute?
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about how technology has stolen our time and attention, right? And it makes things seem so like no one really audits their day and how much time they're not doing things, and they're just mindlessly scrolling or whatever it is. And I feel like being in my mid-30s, I kind of just skated like that being my fate. I had one foot in tech and one out. Yeah. But I do feel like it's so much hard. That's why I think there's like this capacity issue. People don't realize how much time they're not doing things.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. Like you say, to audit your own day, to go, in all fairness, how much time did I spend doing that? Look, we all do it. It's just a thing, sometimes it's just a need a minute to switch off. But it's about limiting that. And sometimes just checking out of it, going, I'm going to delete Instagram, delete for 2 weeks. And you're like, oh God, wow, I don't miss it at all. Or if you have to, like, I do that on a reg, I'll check out and just go, right, I'm not doing it. Just delete it, because you go down a rabbit hole of a whole load of nonsense. I mean, I like some of it. I'll be honest. I learn a lot from it. I do. I genuinely see it as almost like it's the modern day reading magazines. But as long as you can kind of fit it into, a period of time, and you disconnect and you utilize it and you gain from it, then I think great. But it is easy to just get lost in sort of scrolling. So again, it's like anything. If you balance it in the right way and you get something, I've learned loads. I've learned loads of stuff I know I never will. I'm not a reader. I think I've read one book in my entire life.
Is it just because you have to sit down and you don't like sitting still?
Yes, I don't like reading. I have and I'm a bit dyslexic, and I really struggle with stuff like that. But I just don't have the capacity and the patience for that. Yeah. So I like the fact I do get lots of information. It kind of suits me. But there is a finite amount of time you should give it, really. Otherwise, you lose time that you should be being, positive, proactive, and functional. So, it's a good way of thinking of that. But audit your day to think, okay, realistically, how much time did I spend? Did I spend 1 hour, or was it 2? Yeah. Maybe cut that down to half an hour, because you'll still get the same thing out of it, and you'll get a lot more done for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. You, Toolroom, I think I counted 45 plus releases last year.
Yep. Oh, at least, yeah.
At least. That is so much music, quality music.
Thank you.
There's so much bad music being uploaded everywhere, every single day. What's the stat now? I'm sure you know. How many records a day?
A mind-blowing amount. I don't even know. It's something that would just blow your mind, yeah.
So what's your relationship with the streaming landscape? Because again, you're putting out so much quality music, but you're up against so much slop.
Look, I think if you're the best, you'll be okay, right? And that's the challenge. Of course, that it is tougher now because you've got to cut through all of that. But if you build a team and you build a sound and you build continuity and you build an audience, then you're going to be okay. But I think you need to do all of those things. It's not just a case of uploading and hoping for the best, because it won't cut through. You have to invest in it as a concept more than just putting out records. You have to build a team that are all doing things expertly. You know, you have to get people in marketing, you have to get people in A&R, in accounting, all the things that make a record and the functionality of releasing a record correct. And we've built a brilliant team. And over the years, through consistency, through this absolute mad endeavor to get the most out of every record, I mean, we're a bit over the top about it. But
what's over the top?
Well, I mean, I'm, especially me, I'm fastidious about making sure every record can be as good as they can in terms of sonics, in terms of the arrangements, in terms of sound design, hooks. So I spend a lot of time, of my own time, getting the stems in on people's records, working on them, sending them back and saying, look, I see it more like this. You know, can we roll with this? Got any thoughts? Do you think this improves it? Let me know, because I'm only as good as my last record. And that is the key. And I think we talked about it before, if I remember rightly, about having your own sound. That's the greatest accolade you can have in A&R, to have people write a record, so I've written a record that sounds very Toolroom. That's as good as it gets. And that's through years and years of consistency of doing the same thing over and over and over really, really well, and marketing well, and bringing it to an audience in the right way, and making sure that you keep that audience engaged with quality music. So, yeah, it means a lot to me. It means everything to me that each record that we release, whether it's, and we try and do one a week on Toolroom and on Toolroom tracks. So
really,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, we because we write dance music and we are club focused. It's like lighting a fire, and you have to keep throwing coals on it all the time to keep it warm. Our business is very frontline. There's a few records that pop off and you get longer lead tails, but we're not trying to find hits. We're just trying to put out great club records. And to sustain the revenue we need to make our business function, it needs a lot of coals thrown on the fire on a weekly basis. I mean, really, you know, in the modern time, we should spend more time building longer lead campaigns on the right record. And we do. But because now you kind of evaluate the success of a record over 2-3 years, we still live in the kind of Beatport model a little bit, where it's kind of a 4 to 5 week, does it work type thing, where that isn't really the landscape, but we've sort of built our business around that. And I just like releasing records every week and having loads of great records to not only play, because that's the buzz. Like I'm playing tonight in Spy Bar, and I would say 80% of what I'm going to play tonight, maybe 90%, is either mine or on Toolroom. And that means everything to me.
Yeah.
That those records that we're putting out, I'm standing behind, I'm playing, I cannot wait to play. So I like to constantly update my sets with our own music. So I think it's a combination of a bit, fulfilling my own personal endeavour, and the way we've structured the business. We have to put out a lot of music. We do. We run pretty hard. But we love it.
How many full-time employees does Toolroom have?
24.
Holy
Yeah.
I don't know if I've talked to anyone else on this podcast with a label that big, to my knowledge. I mean, you're really operating like, I don't know. You've got your majors, right? And then everything else is considered indie.
Yeah.
But that's weird, because like how you're operating and maybe how like some of my friends who have labels are operating, you're both in the same category, and that just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think there's a difference between having a record label and a record company. Like we could start a record label right now. Let's go, right?
Okay.
Start a record label.
Sure.
Got a name? Let's go. A record company needs structure, it needs people, it needs investment, it needs strategy. That's the difference. And that's what separates record labels, and there's thousands of them, and record companies, whether you're an independent record company or a major record company. I think that's where you get a difference. And there's a different approach as well between a major and independent.
Yeah.
But we are a very big independent record company.
Yeah, I guess the biggest difference is what else are you doing outside of just releasing music, right? Like you
Sure.
do a lot of artist development.
We do that's because two things. We don't have a big checkbook. We've self-funded, we self-distribute, we are absolutely independent on every level. We are proud to be independent. We don't go through a distributor. We do our own distribution. We do our own funding. We've never had a penny of investment. Everything has come from our own momentum.
Wow.
So we don't have a big checkbook, and we don't have a big events brand to say, I'll give you 10 gigs if you give me a record. Mm-hmm. We survive off integrity. We're as good as our integrity attracts records to us because, wow, I'm playing loads of Toolroom records. I want to put a record on Toolroom. That's our approach. That's why we have to be red hot all the time, because we have got nothing to fall back on. Like, to be Beatport #1 selling label, that's our biggest shop window. That's our driver. That's what sells. I want to be part of that, a record label with scale, but yet that really care about the detail, that understand the nuance, the cultural significance of what we're doing. So that's where we exist, on this very small lane of like, we can't pay you massive advances and we can't give you loads of gigs, but we at what we do and we love what we do. Mm-hmm. And we'll put everything behind you, and we'll back it with our heart and soul, and we'll match it with A&R input, with marketing advice, all of those things. We'll give you that. But if you want 10 gigs, you're talking to the wrong, wrong label. If you want loads of money, we can't do that, because I'd rather spend that money on marketing your record, giving it an identity and giving it visibility, than wasting all the money on advance. You're going to get the money anyway. Look, we wouldn't be where we are 23 years later if we didn't pay people.
Right.
Again, we are absolutely fastidious about paying people, because if I didn't pay you, you're not going to give me another record. How can I say, Olivia, can I have another record, please? We didn't pay me for the last one. And that means everything to me, to stand behind that. Not only that we did it to the best of our ability musically, but we paid everyone and we did everything correctly.
This is a relationship business.
Yeah,
and people
that's
know
right.
where to find you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not hiding in the castle, being the CEO of, you're literally playing gigs, you're out and about. And so I think about that a lot as I do some of my different ventures. I'm building a music business conference. Your personal brand and your reputation is on the line all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also something maybe some people don't think about when they're first, when you're just starting a record label, you're testing waters, whatever, that's one thing. But that is one of the biggest things in this industry, is your reputation. And
it's everything, right?
And if that's not pristine, or you're not making things right when you need to, you're not going to have that success. No,
or longevity. Your reputation, I think, affords you longevity. If you maintain that, and you're a good person, and you conduct yourself well, and you do things. Like, the word that drives me is integrity through everything. If I do things from my heart that I believe in, then I feel like I'm always getting it right. I might not get it financially right, but if I did it from here and I believe in it, then it's right for me, and I can stand behind that. If I do things, I try to cut corners or do things that I think will get a commercial shortcut, that, it's visible. I think it looks transparent. Yeah. I like to do things, I like to have big records that get there through merit, through their own natural momentum. And
I feel like the circle you probably keep, they're gonna call you out on your if you take a shortcut.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Oh, listen, you can't kid the kids, right? They see straight through that, and we're not about that. But going back to it, we have a big foothold in artist development, again, because it feeds into our model. We're about finding new talent and growing talent and building success, not buying success. And I think that approach, again, gives you longevity. We have the Toolroom Academy, which is our music education business. We do sample packs. We do management. We do publishing. So we're kind of the 360 company. So if you come on board, that we'll try and help you in every area of your development, through A&R, through education, through management, through publishing. We try to be the one-stop shop in all things music.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, on top of doing all of that and then being an artist yourself, going back to that post I said I made that people were upset about, the topic of burnout kept coming up. And I have this very nuanced take on burnout. I feel like it happens when you're not aligned with what you're doing. And the only time I've ever truly felt like burnout is because something didn't feel right. And when I made the adjustment, the work didn't bother me. I can work 7 days a week. I do work 7 days a week and I love it. But if something's like not working and I'm just barking up the wrong tree, that's when the burnout creeps in. So how do you feel about burnout as someone who's doing all these things?
I try and balance, and the older I've got, the more I try and balance my time with disconnecting from it. So when I come back, I feel invigorated. So I have to, like, first thing I do in the morning, take my son to school and I go to the gym for an hour. That's non-negotiable. Like, apps, don't bother phoning me. The house is on fire. I'm not going to pick up because that's my time. Like, give me an hour and I'll give you the world, right? So first and foremost, I start the day like that. Like, well, I'm going to do something for me first. Because the minute I step out of this gym, the phone's going to go, hey, everyone wants everything.
Right.
Okay, but I feel like I'm ready to now do that. So I think it's how you structure yourself, again, to give yourself maximum potential. I think if you don't do those things, eventually over time, that chips away. You might not feel it in one go, but it erodes away your drive and you know, your ambition. So I think it's about balancing and saying in the evening, I'm going to go and do this for me. And make sure you do that. Whether it's you or the family or you, whatever, that you take time out and say, no, that's it. Because my phone, I'll get phone calls or texts. That's why I don't have WhatsApp. I don't have WhatsApp at all.
Yeah, I noticed that.
No.
WhatsApp is like, I don't understand. If we can just iMessage, why does everybody use WhatsApp? How did they convince us all that that's the superior product?
Honestly, that's the best thing I've ever heard. That's exactly how I feel about it.
That's so funny.
Well, it's like having emails and another email.
Yeah.
I don't use emails. I use another email.
When I get especially pissed when someone from my country WhatsApps me, I'm like, what is the point?
iMessage does the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Olivia, I'm so glad I came. And on that note, thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned for the next one.
That's so funny. I was literally thinking, I'm like, oh, it was a regular iMessage. What a treat.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to check another app.
But yeah, exactly. Because again, it's loads of portals of connection to other people and access to you. So I'm like, look, put it all in one place. I don't need it all over.
That's huge. That's huge. I think that's why people get so overwhelmed with the Instagram and stuff too. I don't answer any of my DMs because I'm like, I can't.
Just email me.
That's what I say. I say
email me. And then we've got a log of it, and that's how we do business, right? We don't have it on Facebook. I haven't got Facebook. I'm really, really basic in that respect. But again, that allows, if I have things all over there, it doesn't help with my structure. And then I think all those things just drain you a little bit because I'll get texts at 3 a.m. Yo, made this amazing record. Like, it's 3 a.m. Like, I'm sure it could wait. And it's Sunday night. I'm sure it could wait till Monday morning. But I try and make sure I disconnect myself and don't engage in those times. I go, right, well, this is like family time now.
Yeah.
I'm with my son. I'm doing something, or at football or whatever. And then when I'm in it, I'm full bore. Again, like when I'm in the studio, I work for 4 or 5 hours and that's it. You don't need to work for 17 hours. If you're working on something for 17 hours, it's not right.
Yeah.
It's like if you do a jigsaw puzzle and try and jam the pieces together, you put the wrong pieces together. When they go together easy, you'll do it in 2 hours.
Right.
And I think that's the key in life with everything. Just get everything is organised. You don't have those problems where you're jamming pieces into another. Easier said than done, but that's at least the theory.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. The formula is different for everybody. I learned that my mornings, I have to work because listen, music industry, everybody's up late at night. So that's when I get bombarded. So I'm like, okay, between 6:30 and 9 a.m., I'm going to get so much done because no one's talking to me. And then I can go do my other things. But the formula is different for everyone. I just, it's just been really irking me getting that so much feedback on that post this past week, because like everybody I interview on this show, they're just going full throttle. Like, and yes, there's boundaries, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is what it takes.
Listen, you know, like you get nothing for nothing, and if you want something bad enough, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
You know, because if you don't, someone else will. End of.
And they will.
That's right. And it's easy to put on a post, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, but that's probably because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You probably would want to do it, but look, hard's hard. Hard's not impossible, but most people give up on hard.
Yeah.
And it's easy to just put in a comment. It's a lot harder to go and make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So Toolroom has this amazing Chicago connection. Gene Ferris, good friend of mine, released so frequently on the label, and there's so much Chicago influence in the music that you put out. How did that come about? And was that like an early, like, were those early influences when you started Toolroom, or is that developed over time?
Look, Chicago is the home of house, you know, and I think it's hard not to resonate with this place and the people in it, because without what you guys did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So I think, I don't know, it just feels very natural. I mean, Gene's a great friend of mine. In fact, we're playing golf together on Monday.
Are you?
Yeah, we said, I can't wait, actually.
He's a big golfer.
He is. And it was the first time I've actually got around to playing. I don't know, it wasn't intentional. It just happened naturally. And I think that's because, I guess, our energies align and it's never one of those, well, we have to go and get some Chicago. If we end up signing, we were signing John Summit right at the very, very beginning. We did loads of his tracks as exclusive on compilations.
Which ones?
It's a very good question.
I can't even remember.
Yeah, but George, I think, was one who works for us, who's head of music, was one of the first guys to ever sign any John Summit records.
No
so
kidding.
Yeah, we were working with John since day dot. But again, that just happens very organically and naturally.
Wow.
It's not
crazy.
Forced.
You know, it's so strange because, going to Europe or going to the UK, dance music is so integrated into just the culture of the city, and it's not like segregated, where I feel like here you go to a dance music club or it's not a dance music club, and you know what dance music is, or you think it's like EDM, you think it's like screechy noises that you know what I mean? Like, there's such a lack of general understanding here, which is one of the things that, I mean, I think it's starting to change.
And that comes with time, right? And exposure.
Yeah.
And refinement, because the obvious things are the things that people tend to integrate with or interface with initially. The more cultured things and the more sophisticated things take a bit of time. Again, it's not, don't get me wrong, you don't walk down every street and everyone knows everything about tech house in the UK or all the different genres. Far from it. But I guess the culture has been more present for longer. So it'll happen, it'll get there. I mean, and that's the exciting thing I think about America. You've still got huge cities here that haven't even got a scene yet.
Yeah.
You've still got all that headroom for growth. And that's what's exciting, that we're almost overexposed to it now. It's the other way around. Like, the kids are less bothered about it now because it's something their parents did. It's not that cool anymore, or less cool.
Weird.
Because, we're living through a really interesting phase of dance music. Now you've got all the people of sort of my age, 40s and 50s, are going back out again. They've had kids and they were there at the beginning. Like, do you know what? I'm not quite ready to hang up my hat yet. I'm up for another go. I can't go out every week, and I need to go out in the right context. But there's a huge scene for people going out. It's all daytime parties, like daytime parties,
which is amazing,
which is great.
Yeah,
because you can get home at 10 o'clock in theory. In the UK, that's the biggest movement now. Like, people, an older generation going out, I guess, right in the next chapter of what we started. It's really interesting. And I have a label called Fool's Paradise. And we just did our first show at Fabric. We did a daytime party. We sold it out. It was honestly, it's amazing, because the older lot don't get to go out every week, and they can't go every week. So when they go out, they're bang up for it. Like every 2 o'clock, people are having it. Let me tell you. And there's no phones. There's no the culture of that.
Because they're proper training. Like
but we never have phones.
Right.
Like,
they've been in this.
I would never think like myself to go out and film anything because I want to be in the moment. Like at no point do I ever go back to my phone for my memories. My memories are all here. They're all the best memories. Like, I don't think I've got a single photo of anything that happened in the 90s, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's what made it better, because they're all the memories, and that's when you interact with people. Oh, do you remember when we did this?
Right.
You don't get your phones out and start exchanging photos.
There's more magic to it when when you recall it from memory.
From memory. Yeah. And then you have to, you have to socialize and talk about that as opposed to looking at.
Right.
But it's a bit soulless.
And there's no proof too, so it makes it more fun to tell the stories.
Totally. So yeah, in the UK, I guess it's the other end of the spectrum. It's a little bit overexposed.
Wow.
So the kids, it's not their first train of thought to gravitate towards dance music. Yeah, there is still a big scene, and kids like like Max Dean and Luke Dean and Josh Baker and all those guys. Yes, they do an incredible job of talking to the kids now, which is brilliant. Like my son's 14. He's like, "Oh, Dad, you know Josh Baker?"
Yeah,
and all that sort of thing. But you've got that going on at one end, and then you've got the old lot going on. But the bit in the middle, where if you haven't kind of grasped dance music, it's not as, I guess there's a bigger movement for wellness in some respects than there is for dance music at the moment. But that will change, that will change. But, I think to have that lack of cultural understanding in some ways is quite cool, because at the other end, the overexposure is more of a battle and less fun than underexposure when you're trying to educate people, because they're still like, oh, wow, I never knew I'd like this thing.
It's a great perspective. Sometimes I do feel crazy. Like I have a marketing agency, and my client, I have a client that's a bank, and I do feel crazy trying to explain to them what I do in this world. Like it's just like, you could tell they're like, yeah, for sure, it sounds cool. I mean, they have no idea.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of it's like a little crazy making, but you're right. At the same time, I guess I haven't thought about, it's weird because you feel like you're running up against a brick wall sometimes, trying to get more of the scene here and trying to get some of the respect. But it's always the people like from the UK, from Europe, who like give more respect to Chicago in particular, because you're so integrated with the culture, the roots.
Sure.
Versus like trying to convince, I don't know, a cafe here that they should do a pop-up with dance music because it'll work. You know what I mean? Like like from a business perspective, it's a little bit, it's just frustrating, but
that just takes time. That and you can't move that along any quicker, really. And I think if you're trying to force it, it's not natural. It'll get there. I mean, it's incredible. I love coming here just because of the enthusiasm for that. It is niche and it is cult almost, and people will like go for it. They love it. It's not like, oh, that song is, like in London, there's 57 parties on every week.
Sure.
And there's so much going on. It becomes almost a bit blasé. So to have that where you've really got to go and seek it out, and it's a real commitment to it, I think that's more exciting.
Sure. I love that perspective. Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you want to accomplish soon in your lifetime?
Going round even golf is right up there. And
where?
Going out even par is
okay.
is right up there as one of my real life goals at the moment. No, in terms of music, it's a good question. Do you know, I was actually thinking it the other day, with this new record label I've got, Fool's Paradise, I'm going to have a go, and this is the first time I think I've ever said publicly, because I literally just come to me the other day, because I was on Instagram, and there seems to be a real, obviously off the back of the Michael Jackson movie, lots of people dancing to tracks from Off the Wall. I mean, Off the Wall, the album, just game changer for me. Just, Rod Temperton, Quincy Jones, the people involved in it, just sheer musical prowess and people around that album. I thought, I've got to have a go at writing, doing a band thing that's making funk, disco, but within house. So I'm going to give that a go.
Wow.
Give that a bash.
Thanks for sharing that. That sounds exciting.
Just coming to mind the other day, I thought, I need to do that. I need to, write something like that, an album like that. And I've done one album. I'm going to do another album, but I think I'm going to do it more as a kind of band concept. And again, it's going back to the construction thing. Is about now thinking about, okay, look, there's no point in me picking up the bass and trying to play it. I need to find a great bass player. I need to find a great keyboard player, a great top line writer. And I've got an idea, and I've been thinking about how I'm going to do it. But yeah, I'm going to give that a go.
Okay.
That's off the top of my head. Just thought, it came into my head the other day, I need to write a record like that.
They're speaking it into fruition.
Just do it.
I love it.
Well, why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah,
I love it. Let's go and make it a thing.
We'll check back, a year or so from now, and you let me know.
Let's see if I can do it in a year.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Game on.
Check in. Well, this is.
And hold me to that.
I will.
Please do.
We'll have this evidence. Thank you for chatting with me. This has been amazing.
Oh, thank you for having me again, Olivia. It's been great. Thank you.